How you guys doing today? It's Anthony Gangi. Welcome to another episode of a live Tier Talk. It's going to be me and Russ Hamilton. We'll have Russ Hamilton on shortly. And we're going to be talking real quickly on would you recommend corrections to someone as a career? I think it's a great dialogue. I think it's a dialogue that we need to have because our numbers are low. So we need to do what we can from our side to invite people in. Hopefully when we're given a chance to talk good about this profession, even though it's tough, we do, because again, we need to do what we can to motivate people from the outside who may have a taste of wanting to come into this profession. So the last thing we want to do is destroy that taste. Now, guys, before we have Russ on, I want to tell you that we do have 3 entities that are sponsoring this show. We have American Military University. So if you guys are looking to seek higher education, looking to go back to school, get that college degree, bring some experience into the classroom, check out American Military University. It's a great school. They've been supportive of me since day one. They've also been supportive of corrections since I've been involved with them. They're supportive of everything that we do in corrections. Again, the American Military University. If you get a chance, check it out. We also have Guardian RFID. From inmate tracking and cell checks to cloud-based business and artificial intelligence, Guardian RFID digitally transforms jails, prisons, and juvenile detention facilities of every size. Visit Guardian RFID for more information. And we also have the wrap restraint. Now, guys, if you're unfamiliar with the wrap restraint, check out the link in my description here. It's going to show you a video. Hopefully you check it out after we do our show. That would make, help me. So let's wait and check the video out. We check it out after the show. But it's a little bit about the wrap. Controlling combative subjects quickly and in an upright position so they can breathe has never been more important. Departments such as Washington, DOC, LA County, San Diego County, and hundreds of other facilities across the U.S. trust and believe in the wrap restraint. Go to saferestraints.com for contact information and mention Tier Talk to receive instructor training at no cost. Lower liability for your facility and your personnel with the wrap. Give the wrap a call today, 800-WRAP 911. So again, the topic today is, would you recommend to someone corrections as a career? This topic was not my idea. It was the famous Russ Hamilton's idea. Russ, do you mind introducing yourself to our audience once again?
Yeah, my name is Russ Hamilton. I have 27 years in with California Department of Corrections and Rehabilitation. I retired as a sergeant, started my career way back in 1989. And then I went to work for juvenile corrections, and now I work for a private corporation that does work with individuals who are on probation and parole and getting them set up for both re-entry as well as rehabilitation. And as always, when doing a live show, it's a risk and anything could happen. And that's all I'm going to say right now.
Yes. Now, guys, this is a great topic. Again, I can't steal the credit for this topic. This is a topic that Russ thought of. Hey, Liz. Hey, Rob. What's up, Austin? So Russ did think of this topic. So before we go into it, I want to ask you, Russ, why do you think this topic is needed right now?
Okay, so the other day when I was just, kind of thinking about things, because I was getting a lot of questions in emails. I was getting a lot of questions in other forums. I talked to a lot of people on Tier Talk. I talked to a lot of people on my own forum, Keepers of Chaos. And, it's just that thing where, I love corrections, right? But I have to ask myself, can I recommend it to someone else in good conscience? Because there's a lot of negative things out there. There's a lot of there's a subset even of officers who have fallen to that least common denominator and decided they're going to be negative all the time. There's a lot of negativity and bad things that can come from admin. We're hit all the time with understaffing, not having enough people to fill positions, which translates a lot of times into safety issues. Sometimes we're not getting the equipment we should have. Sometimes we're not getting the pay. And so this is about whether I can stand up here and say, hey, you should apply in corrections.
Right. So So, guys, I want people to know right off the bat that oh, thanks, guys. I want people to know right off the bat that corrections is a career. It's a great profession. It's not just a job. And the reason why I'm saying that is if we look at corrections as a whole, there's so many avenues that you can take to grow professionally and even on a personal level. I can't tell you how much I believe corrections has helped me grow on a personal level. But mind you, it's intentional. I mean, you can't expect to enter this profession and grow automatically. You have to have the intention, which means that when you come into this profession, you have to kind of look around and see what's there. Because in my mind, there are a lot of opportunities, whether you want to grow within the department that you're in, or whether you want to kind of branch out, and see the other areas that corrections has. I mean, everything from, you got safety and security, you got program and rehabilitation, you got management, you got the investigative division. There's just so many different routes that you could take that it's hard for anybody not to see this as a career. So, and by the way, guys, the reason why I keep on saying the word career, and I am always trying to correct myself, because sometimes I do find myself saying job, is because if I'm going to talk good about this profession and I want to get the right people in this profession, I have to be careful of my verbiage. So I do want to say career, because to me, career signifies growth. And I know if I want people that are in this profession, that are in it for the right reasons, they're going to feel that word more as opposed to a job. So would you consider corrections a career, Russ?
Absolutely. And, I want to harken back to, you talking about all the different facets of corrections that open to you, once you've been trained as that officer. We don't want to ever stagnate either as individuals or as officers. So, one of the things you can do, there's so many opportunities within those bounds. I mean, you can get involved in, hostage rescue, other types of CRT teams. You can get involved in the honor guard. You can get involved, like you said, in investigations, being a counselor, and the list just kind of goes on of those things that then become open to you. And so, I mentioned the last time I was just speaking a few moments ago about some of the negative aspects. Well, that's really one of the great positive aspects that we have, is that it's open and that we don't have to stagnate. We don't have to stay as, and I don't want to say just an officer, because officers are the bread and butter of what we do, but you can branch out from there. Or even as an officer, you have an opportunity many times to work in enough different units, transportation, hospital work, maximum security. And so once again, even within just the bounds of that one particular area of corrections, being an officer, the world is your oyster, really. And so this is where I really want to start juxtaposing the great things about corrections against some of the negatives that I talked about, in order to get to that point where you can balance out and decide whether or not, I or anyone can or should recommend corrections as a career, as you put it.
Right. Joe mentions a very good point. By the way, great comment, Joe. When I started 17 years ago, I would have recommended it to anyone. Present day, not so much. Too much has changed. But let me mention something now, because Joe's 100% correct. But I like the fact that he says not so much. He doesn't say he's not going to do it. He just says not so much. So what I see in Joe Sullivan's statement, because I choose to see it, because I'm intentional in seeing it, I see hope. Now, most people, depending on where their mindset would be, they would take that statement and see negativity. I don't see negativity. I see hope. I see that there's more that we can do to motivate Joe to recommend this as a career. Now, mind you, guys, it sucks. We are going through some tough times. I mean, it's great to see that Nebraska now pushed in for this agreement that's going to give these officers the pay that could put them in third in the nation in highest pay for correctional officers. Good, Joe. I was hoping I nailed that one. Took a shot in the dark there, but okay, good. I was waiting. You have no idea how much I was waiting for your response back on that one, Joe. And look, it's 100%. That's pure positivity. No way you could look at it any different, because it was 50%. I may have went like, ooh, I may have dropped the ball on that one. But I appreciate that comment, Joe. All right, so what it is this is the moment where I feel that we're needed the most, because here's the funny thing, guys. If times were easy in corrections, right, and it was a job that, was something that everybody wanted to get into, then we would probably get everybody, and not everybody's fit for this profession. So I think that when we invest time in somebody now to make that recommendation, and we're honest with them, yes, I mean, I'm not saying not to tell them the negative, but I think we have more than just the negative. I mean, I'm not telling them to sugarcoat anything. What I'm saying is, at the time we're going through this, that's why we need people like you, so there's a little bit more of a personal connection as to why somebody would want to come into this profession at this time. If I was to spend my time on the outside talking to someone, I would have in the back of my mind the struggles that this profession has, everything that we're going through. So I wouldn't just recommend it to everyone, because I'm not about hiring people out of desperation. I'm not, even though this is about what we would do, what we would recommend. I'm assuming that when we know that this profession is going through all these concerns, we're going to choose who we talk to, who we feel can add value to this profession. So, like Joe said not so much. I believe the reason why Joe said not so much is because more now than ever, this profession isn't for everyone. So Joe may have some quality time with people, and as he's investing his time with someone, investing his time, he may realize this person's a good fit, because not only is there the positive, but this person can also go through the negative. So again, part of that recommendation is advertising hope, not sugarcoating the negative, advertising hope, and trying to find people that can benefit us by letting them know these are the concerns we have, but I feel after knowing you, these are the things that you could bring into the profession. So again, I find it more on us now to try to get some good personal recommendations out there, so we can get the right people that can come in, as opposed to what the agency's doing at the highest level, which is just kind of, hiring out of desperation. I think that's where we come in, and we start to kind of say, hey, I know this person that's going to be great for this position. I've done it already. I've done it where one of the departments I know can't find anybody. And then I get this young person who just can't wait to get into this profession. She wants to help people. She wants to, do stuff on the program side. She's so driven. She's volunteering at all these different places. So I said, you know what? By looking at what she's done, looking at, I do know this individual for some time, so I know what she's about. I was able to make that recommendation. So now I'm bringing quality. Again, quality takes a longer time. I may only be doing it one at a time. But with that said, I think recommending it to people now during the struggle, there are going to be certain people that come in that could have a value to what it is that we're doing. What's your thoughts, Russ, on that?
Yeah, one of the things is that at this point, I'm always willing to discuss with people that option of coming into corrections. But I think that now, obviously, I take a bit more care in filling them in on really what it's all about. I like to describe to them, the things that are the positive. Like for me, a big positive of corrections is you get stretched every day to the point that, you have to be able to rise to the occasion. And, there's these opportunities to, overcome resistance, overcome obstacles, and in the end, carry the day and be victorious. And when I say things like that, people are like, wow, this guy, he might be a little bit touched. But I really, truly mean that, because I think corrections really has the chance to push you to be a more finely honed individual and to be able to really develop some skill sets that you wouldn't otherwise have. I think that, when I started in corrections, I was definitely a little bit more, introverted. And, now I talk in front of crowds all the time. I've been involved in, hundreds, perhaps thousands of videos. And I think that my interpersonal skills and communication skills have really been honed, which really translates well into the field I'm in now, where, oftentimes, I have to get up in front of a small crowd of people, or I should say group, and, really produce good quality content that's actually going to help people, within that room. And so the positives about corrections, that is part of it. And so, I just think that we have to be able to look at that balance. People that get into corrections, though, and they fall into that negativity trap, they if they don't pull out of it, they're never able to function in that higher realm where they seek out to be able to, be victorious and overcome those obstacles, rise to the challenge, rise to the occasion, and be able to, take a great deal of pride out of being able to function in an environment like that. And so it's not easy. And that's the reason, though, that we have this conversation, because I want people to be enthused and understand that as they do get into corrections, they're going to have choices about following the trend that's all negative, or deciding that they're going to help be a leader, or at least a good follower to those people who are excited about corrections, who are invested in doing a good job, and who, believe in the process and really want to, make their institution more safe, more secure, and a better place to work.
Right now, guys. Hey, Daniel, I love your question. I will get to it at the end of the show. It will be a bonus question. I just want to stay on the topic. So trust and believe. I already had that question in my queue. I have an answer to that one. So hopefully, if you're able to stay and watch this, at the end, I'll answer it. I won't forget that question. I just want to stay on the topic real quick. So I love what Mark says. I also love what Liz says. I mean, there's a lot of good things. Micah said a couple of that. I just want to read a couple of things. Mark says, be the face of your agency in the community, coach, volunteer, work with youth groups, show them who we are and what a great career it can be. We are, with all the negative, we must show the positive. And I want to comment on that, but I want to finish. I want to read two more comments first. Elizabeth, as the recruitment and retention manager, I love this, what she says here. For this state I serve, it's hard to recruit the right people for the right position. It's all about the way you personalize the effort to get the right people on the bus. I want to explore that, but I got one more comment here I want to read. Comes from No. I've been applying for corrections out of state and heading to Tennessee in a month for my physical polygraph, drug test, and interview. Out of all the COs I've talked to, they all love it. And Micah even said Wednesday was his 28th birthday. He got assaulted. Don't worry. He gave as good as he got. Friday, I found out why I'm not ever going to leave this department. The amount of support that has been unreal. First off, thank God you're okay, Micah. But that's one of the reasons why I've stayed. I believe there is a lot of support here that you won't get anywhere else. So to me, that was a great motivator. Believe it or not, Micah, that's the great motivator to remain in this profession, because that's what gets you to run into these codes. When you know that people will do the same for you, that's the motivation. It's not the money. It's nothing. It's the fact that that's my brother. That's my sister. So that's a great motivator to stay in this career. If I could ever tell you, everybody that's watching this video right now, one of the great reasons to be in this profession is because there is the support that you may not find elsewhere. And that's going to help you make the choices that are difficult, especially running into those codes when someone you love, part of your family, someone who would do the same for you, is being assaulted. I want to go back, though, and touch on, I want to do Elizabeth's first. This hit home with me. So I think what connects people is a story, a shared experience. So, and this kind of relates to exactly what Mark is saying too. Part of being in corrections, I've actually connected this profession to who I am. And people are like, oh, you got to separate the two. Yeah, but at some point, part of your career kind of makes who you are, because that's your service to others. I do like to think that we're defined by how we serve others. So I found a good service in this career. I do. I believe that what we do connects to a higher service on every level in this profession. So when I'm able to share my purpose with somebody, if I'm able to tell them where I find value in this profession and bring them in to me, to connect them with my experience, I believe, Elizabeth, 100%. Personalizing that is what can lead to inspiration in someone else. So if I can tell you right now, I'm inspired every day because this is what I do and this is how I am able to serve others, and I have found true purpose in this profession, there may be some people that can connect to that and just say, I didn't know that that's even offered in this career. Now, when they start doing their research and they look at the stuff that we do on Tier Talk, on Keepers of Chaos, on this great community, all of a sudden they start to validate maybe some purpose that they have. Now, think about that one dialogue with that person that you had. Now, you're not going to get this from an agency poster being hung up. You're not going to get this from, hey, we're going to make $40,000 a year now or $50,000. No, this is from a dialogue with somebody who works in the profession. Take a look at Keepers of Chaos, Correctional Officer Brotherhood. The opportunity for people that want to come into this profession to connect with somebody, a possible mentor, to share those experiences, to kind of say, if you want to be in this profession, this is what it's about. Think about the value that person now has when they're coming into the profession, their purpose. It makes it harder for an inmate to play them because they're coming in with a purpose that relates to who they are, their being. So now what we need to do at that point is when you have somebody connected for those reasons, we need to embrace them. We need to show them that we need them. And instead, lately, we've been a little disgruntled and negative. We got to be careful of that because now you get somebody in here with the right reasons, the purpose, and then you connect them with someone that just puts a lid on them. Now this person's like, hey, this is not what I thought. Not because it's about the profession. It's because you partnered them next to somebody who has done nothing but belittled the service that we provide. Russ, what's your thoughts on that personalizing approach? I think that's phenomenal, in my opinion.
Well, it's interesting because I've been involved in that approach now, through Tier Talk and through Keepers of Chaos and all of the other venues out there so many times now, where we're really, trying to examine those things that a person offers, has the potential to offer. The ability to talk about, people that I know in the profession that have something to offer, like yourself, William Young, Keith Helwig, Gary York, all those people, and be able to point and says, this is what we're capable of doing. These are the things we can be involved in. This is the way, this is the path we can choose in corrections, and point to those, positive, impactful people, and be able to take away from that. If you get into this profession and I see that you're a go-getter and you seem to be the type of person that wants to be able to promote up the chain, for instance, that type of person we really want to recruit, because those are the people that are going to eventually supplant some of those other people that are in those positions in admin, and we're going to be able to better the profession. We're going to be able to get, better quality recruits. We're going to be able to, increase our professionalism, our equipment, our pay, and things like that by people that are really dedicated to the overall profession, to the overall career viewpoint, knowing what we know about this and being able to, make things easier on the people that are in it is going to be vitally important as we start to bring things around. The pendulum has swung so far away from being law enforcement minded, from being security minded, to just kind of letting people get away with anything and everything. And it's going to have to come back at some point. And that's when I think we're going to see some growth in corrections, and we're going to see some of these people come in that are going to be able to, help us carry the day. Some of us are, always going to be down near the trenches because that's who we are. That's what our function is. But we need to bring those other people along that aren't going to stay in those trenches, that are going to matriculate upwards and truly be able to, have the biggest impact on corrections.
Yeah, Quentin asked a good question. Now, we've done this video multiple times. Quentin, if you get a chance, check out this one I did on being a stepping stone. It's one of the more recent ones. You'll see, I think on the thumbnail, it's a picture of actual stepping stones. But it says, would you say corrections in most jurisdiction agencies is a stepping stone position to a law enforcement role, especially if we look at this qualification training? So let me just stay within the correctional officer department. Because by the way, when I talk about a career, I do talk about there's so many different departments, left and right. But this specific question is literally about the correctional side of things. So since I've worked in corrections, I've worked in a state where we were seen as law enforcement. So I don't know it any other way. And it's hard for me to believe that what I do in New Jersey is different than what the other correctional officers do in other states that aren't recognized as law enforcement. So for me, I always believe in elevating it up. So I believe that, yes, what we do is a law enforcement role, because anytime something happens in our community behind the wall, we're not calling anybody else. We serve in every capacity. So when someone says, yeah, corrections is a good stepping stone to become a police officer, which, by the way, police officers aren't the only service that falls under law enforcement. I know a lot of people are like, well, you're not police, therefore you're not law enforcement. Well, police aren't the only entities that are law. Everybody has a certain function. So with that said, if you're telling me that you could learn all these qualities and all these great tools in corrections that will make you a better police officer, it's hard for me to go back and say, well, then how are we looking at stepping stone? Because in my mind, I look at stepping stone as something inferior. Now, I know a lot of people may disagree with me on that, but for me, the reason why I look at it that way is because of the context it's being employed. When some people tell me, yeah, I'm a correctional officer, but one day I'm going to be this, the reason why I think they're saying that is because they're not proud of where they're at in the moment, that they felt the need to justify that answer into something else. And the reason why I get that context is I've trained people who had entered corrections that were quick to tell me, yeah, this is just a stepping stone. I'm going to go right into being a police officer in a year or two. And it's like, well, wait a second. First off, you're here now. So the more that you keep on looking at tomorrow, you're not going to see the value in what's in front of you today, because you came in already thinking that I'm only here. I'm just going to stop here for a moment. I'm going to move forward. So literally, you're not even looking to the left and right at this point. You're just so focused on tomorrow that you're just going through the moment. So if this is a stepping stone to you, you're not going to get any value from this stepping stone if you're not even focused on today. When I asked you what you're doing today, or what you are, it's like, I'm a correctional officer. That's it. I didn't ask about where you're going to be tomorrow, because I need you focused in the now. That's one thing. Second thing is, you have a lot of people that are training you, that are sharing with you their experiences, their value, and then you're quick to tell them that in their mind that, yeah, okay, I get it, but tomorrow I'm going to be this. Now, I'm okay with hopes and dreams. I get it. I'm not saying that. But in the meantime, you didn't even give this profession a fair chance, because whatever it is, yeah, you may know a lot about police, but now we're giving you an insight to a world that most people don't know about. And the moment that you connect with someone who could share with you something, you're quick to say, yeah, but I'm only here for a brief moment. So no, I think the way some of these people justify stepping stone is, I'm walking over you. I'm going to walk over you. I'm just here now, but I'm going to walk over you. Because if you really were invested in what we were doing and really wanted to learn to be better, then you wouldn't be sitting there saying, yeah, well, one day I'm going to be this, when we're trying to teach you what you need to be in the moment, what you need to be now. So, and I share a story about that. And the reason why I'm a little bit passionate about that is because I've seen people who, I'm telling you something, the moment they got a chance to switch over to a county sheriff's position, or they were quick to brag about it to everyone that was there, like, hey guys, look where I'm going, look where I'm going. And, and then now the stepping stone has a different context for me. Now it doesn't mean I'm using this to learn. It's more of, huh, you guys back here and I'm over here. And, I think that one last thing, I'm sure Russ is going to want to attack this as well, is that if you want to go to become a police or whatever it is, that's not a move up. I'm sorry. That's lateral if you want. I get it. I'm not if you want to dream big and or whatever it is, and you want to become that police officer, that's great. But don't look at it as corrections here and being a police officer is here, because then we're never going to get what we want. We're never going to get that equal recognition. And then even police officers will say it that way. It's like, no, what's great is that we're here. So if you want to cross right over, cross right over. But what I don't want is, oh, I'm going to be a police officer, so let me just push that down, and there I am. What's your thoughts on that stepping stone thing? Am I a little too?
No, I think it's something that does have to be addressed. And here's the thing to me: if you have an affirmative duty to act when laws are being broken, if you have an affirmative duty to prevent, detect, and stop crimes, you're law enforcement, regardless of whether or not they hang that peace officer title on you or not. Now, I was fortunate in both agencies that I worked for. I had peace officer powers, but that's not the be all end all of what goes on in corrections. It is law enforcement. I actually have a video out there somewhere. I'll post it in the next few days or so about, people trying to belittle this profession and saying that it's not when it is. I guarantee you that, I've probably cuffed more people in a single day than any police officer is gonna probably do in a career. I've probably had more interactions with more felons and murderers in a single hour than they will in an entire career. So don't let anyone belittle this. We are very necessary. If we didn't exist, why would it matter for the police to exist? Well, it wouldn't. So take pride in this and really know that this is a vital, necessary function. And don't ever let it think that, there's, all these other things out there that are more glorious and grand. However glorious and grand it can be is about what's in your heart.
Ooh, I like that.
I take a
Hey,
lot.
Russ, say that again. Wait, you got to say that again. I'm sorry. That was really good.
I say, all this stuff about, whether or not it's glorious and grand, it's not about the function of the specific job. It's about how you carry it in your heart. Okay. And that is the vital key thing to me. I'm going to go back to what I was starting to say there in that I take a lot of pride in what I did. I believe that what I did was integral to creating a safe and secure environment, not just for the inmates, but for all of the staff around me day in and day out. And you know what? I have the bona fides to prove that, I was effective. I was impactful in what I did. And, no one can tell me that my mission and the way I accomplished it wasn't every bit as vital as anything any police officer did out there. So, and it's natural to, maybe if street law enforcement is your thing, to come in, and you shouldn't view it as a stepping stone, though. You should view it as a chance to increase those skills that you will never get by being a police officer. The stuff to do with gangs, the stuff to know with criminal mindset. We're exposed to it on a much deeper, much more concentrated level than any police officer or sheriff's deputy out there on the road. So, you know what? If you're going to use it to your advantage, not for the glorification of what you might view to be a better job or whatever.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of how I view it. Now, again, I get it because I've had some people that see it differently, but unfortunately, because of the context that was provided to me and how I saw the word stepping stone, it wasn't. I don't know. I still can't see it in a positive way. If someone comes up to me and says what I'm doing as a career is a stepping stone to what they want to do, I mean, yeah, if I'm supportive of that person, I get it. But this is not a person that when I dealt with it was very supportive of what we do. I mean, again, these are the people that would come back up and brag and show their new badge. And I'm down to my last week here, and I told you I wasn't staying here. So to me, it's very important the mindset you come in. If you're coming in thinking that this is a job and that, eventually you're going to do this, well, then, okay, then maybe in your mind it's a stepping stone, but it's still unfair because in the end, this is a career. And if you would give it the opportunity instead of walking in already closed off to what this profession has to offer, maybe you would see that there's more here. Because like I think Elizabeth said, a couple of people in the area said it, is that if they came in with an open mind, they wind up staying. Because they realize, this isn't that bad. Or some people that have left that said, you know what? I wish I never left. I wish I would have stayed. But again, I was so focused on tomorrow, I never kind of looked at the opportunities that were facing me today. And I want to mention something, too, about this stepping stone for the people that have that mentality, coming in and, you're in a great profession right now that offers all these opportunities. And then you close yourself off to it. So what happens now is, let's say you never get that call from that agency. the police or the FBI or wherever it is that you want to go, prosecutor's office, whatever it is. Let's say you never get that call. And let's say years down the line, you're still waiting in the hopes that you never, in the hopes that you get this call and you still haven't. All of a sudden, your mentality, your want to leave has trapped you. Then you start to go back and saying, man, and by the way, guys, usually the people that figure out that they're going to be in this profession, that their dreams of being that police officer didn't work out, and now they're kind of mad because they didn't take advantage of every opportunity here, because instead of kind of treating things in the moment, they just said, well, you know what? I'll wait because I'm not going to go out to make rank because this isn't a career I want anyway. Or I'm not going to even look at anything else because this isn't the career I want anyway. And then 15 years down the line, when they haven't been able to get those opportunities, they become miserable. They've trapped themselves mentally, and they've done it the moment they entered this profession. And I would tell people, watch with that mentality, because when you kind of come in with that mentality and you don't take a look at the other opportunities because you're so focused on opportunities elsewhere, which are not in your control, where right now you could be intentional and really create a good path in this career, you're going to trap yourself, because 15 years down the line, when you're still hoping for that other position and it's not coming, you're going to start going back and saying, man, what have I done? Because then that's when you realize I'm going to start to look around and see what else is there 15 years later. When you see everybody else around you who made this a career and they're moving up and they're doing great. And then how do you justify them moving up? Oh, that's great. I'm glad you became a sergeant, but don't worry. I'm going to be a police officer in a few years. You'll see. Now what's the end result? The end result is you're here and you've done nothing to move forward. Now you've truly done 25 years with never once enjoying the opportunities that this career presented. So I think for me, that's another reason why I'm passionate about it, is because if you're so focused on tomorrow and coming in seeing this as a stepping stone, eventually when that doesn't happen, what you want doesn't happen, because it could. I'm not being negative. I want people to live out their dreams, but hear me out. Not to the point that it sacrifices you in the moment. That's the key. I want you to live out your dreams, but not to the point where you sacrifice yourself in the moment, because the funny thing is, guys, when you start to learn more, sometimes dreams can change. They could, because you could see value in something you're doing right now that you wouldn't allow yourself to see value in. So having said that, have dreams, but be open-minded, because now you're presenting an opportunity that's in your control and you're avoiding it because you're so focused on something that's not. What's your thoughts on that, Russ? How, having that mentality and just really not focusing in now could make you feel trapped?
So just to keep it short in the way that I would phrase it is, don't talk to me about what you're going to do tomorrow. Show me what you did yesterday. All right. And I think that's about as succinctly put as I can put it.
That's powerful, Russ. That's two of them today.
I'm on a roll.
Hey, Russ, I'm going to tell you something, which we've been trying to get Russ to write his book on complacency. So Russ just did 2 quotes that would be great for his book that's coming out in 2056.
I'm taking pre-orders now, though.
Yeah, we're taking pre-orders on. It's a book about complacency, by the way. So it's going to take Russ about 50 years to do it. But Russ, those were some. That's another. You're right. So having said that, so I mean, going back to what the question is, and then we'll go to our bonus question. I'll answer for Daniel. Daniel, I didn't forget about you. We got to kind of be quick. It is a Saturday morning, but yes. Would I recommend this profession to someone? Yes, because I value it. But I think our part right now is what Elizabeth said earlier. Kind of what everybody was also saying in alignment is that it's our job. We may not be able to attract the masses, but I think us on an individual level, we can attract the quality. So if I feel that there's someone that needs a job and they're fit and maybe there's potential in them, I love Elizabeth using that word personalized. It's my job, because I'll tell you something. I may not be able to get the numbers in my personal dialogue, but this person could have the value of 10. You know what I mean? Just by who they are and what they're willing to do. Because when I look to recommend the profession to somebody, I look for their potential. That's why, again, the stepping stone thing gets to me. I look at their potential, and I look at how their potential can affect this profession. So definitely being personal with someone and bringing them in. I find that to be my responsibility anytime I talk to someone that I believe could be great addition to this great profession. And by the way, I look at it from multiple departments because I am on the administrative level. So it's not just custody side, but it's also on the program side, wherever I could find value in where that person, value in what we need, but also something that connects to that individual that gives them a purpose. What's your thoughts on that recommendation, Russ? And then we'll answer some questions from the audience that goes a little outside the topic.
Well, yeah. So I'll just wrap up, when I came up with this question. So yes, I can recommend corrections as a career. I can also throw in there, though, a caveat with regards toward the personalization of it. I want to try and direct people that I think would be good fits. At the same time, I wouldn't want to screen anybody out because, you know what, I've been wrong enough in my life about what some people are capable of accomplishing. And I would put myself in that. When I first got into corrections, it was about having a job. I didn't understand how well I was going to take to it, or at least I think I did. Maybe that's for other people to judge. I felt like I took to it like a duck to water. I started eventually after the first year, making some significant impacts on safety and security and making some interesting busts. And also, ending up with, a few bumps and bruises along the way. And then eventually, bringing it full circle to where, now I do some reentry and rehabilitation, but most importantly, talking to correctional officers on venues like Tier Talk and Keepers of Chaos, and being able to, pass on what I've learned, which may be the most important thing in the end. So I remain enthused about it. I remain cautiously optimistic. And I hope that, in some ways, maybe I can be part of the team that carries that ball toward the finish line, toward the goal, even though maybe the goal is, an infinite number of yards away.
Yeah. And guys, there's nothing easy about this profession. So if you have a chance, be intentional and try to find the positive. So when you are talking to people, maybe they'll be quick to say the negative, but what makes your experience unique is maybe you could talk about the positive. Look at Mika. Mika got assaulted, and look how he was able to turn that around as something that's going to make him never leave the profession. Look at the heart behind that individual when he saw that, I was assaulted, but I saw the support, and that motivated him to stay. So if someone like Mika could find the positive because he was intentional and looking for it, I mean, think about how motivated he is now to remain in the profession. Most people would be like, I ain't doing this anymore. I'm out. But not for Mika. And these are the people we want. So I think part of what we've been doing now, Tier Talk Keepers of Chaos, and you can see where the focus has been, is really to try to keep the motivation going, because we do know that a lot of people that are looking to go into corrections, they're looking for these types of videos. So you never know, guys. I mean, if someone's watching this video, what your comments here and what we're talking about here can bring someone good that you'd want to walk next to on a tier. Okay, so I want to answer a few. There's a few outside questions, and then when Russ is ready to go, we have to go. I know he's limited, but I wanted to stay with the topic at first. So thank you, everyone, for respecting that. I really do appreciate that. Daniel did ask a question. I think Joe Murray's kind of summed it up. I hope Daniel's still here. If not, Daniel, we didn't forget about you. I know you did you remarked a little further back, so hopefully you stayed. He did ask a good question. He goes, it was about wardens with no experience moving up. So basically, I think his question was more about, and thanks, Joe. That I think that's what it is. So you have a warden that's moved up, but really doesn't have the safety and security background. Like they're not custody minded, maybe because they haven't had that experience on the front line. Do you think they were a good fit as a warden? So how do you want to do this, Russ? You want to give, now we don't know each other's perspective here, but we're going to say it respectfully. So I have a perspective on this 100% through my experience, but I know Russ will have a perspective. So Russ, I'm thinking of and I'm going to be honest here. Don't lie. We'll see who goes first. I'm thinking of a number here from 1 to 10. If you get the number exactly, you could choose if you want to go first or second.
42.
43, but it was close enough. Okay, Russ, do you want to go first or second on this one?
Yeah, I'll go. I want to go first because I want to get into this, but I'm going to keep it pretty short. And it's simply this: there are wardens that I have worked for with very little, if no, line staff that have been good wardens. I've also worked for some that have been horrible wardens. And it all comes down to basically one thing, is whether or not they put people within their earshot that are willing to inform them about what's going on with the safety and security aspect, with the STG aspect, with the use of force aspect, and are willing to provide them with all of that information. They have to be those people that can bend that individual's ear. And so I don't think that there's a one size fits all on that, but I will say I much prefer the wardens that I've worked for that were steeped in the process of what it takes to be functioning on that front line, and who have been there in my stead, that have done the same things that I've done with regards to use of force and putting down riots, and having to undergo some of those investigations that were not fun things to have to go through. So my preference is that they all have that base trenches frontline experience, and have some similar experiences to mine with regards to actually providing law enforcement resources to the community of inmates that we have, and to the rest of our staff, and so that they understand what it is we need to keep things safe and secure.
Yeah, it's great. Now, by the way, I do strongly disagree with anyone who disagrees with Russ. So Joe kind of talks about it in his world too as a lawyer. He goes, I know that I always prefer new judges who are in private practice trying cases instead of lawyers who were clerks their whole career and never walked in our shoes. Now, Daniel mentions Abraham was able to get Daniel's question, so it is about the warden who didn't have security background. So thank you, Abraham. I want to add on to what Russ said. Obviously, in agreement, Elizabeth says depends on their leadership skills, not exactly experience. A warden must have strong peoples and positions that the warden lacks experience on. Okay, so Elizabeth is totally. We got to have her on because that answer is totally where we're at. So I'm going to add to that, but not to steal. So let me give credit to Russ and Elizabeth first. I am in total agreement with what you said. I just want to add a little more. But again, you guys really led the way on this one. So it really does matter. So Daniel, hopefully you're listening. The people around that warden matters, because as a warden moves up, they're going to have a team of experts around them that they're supposed to rely on. So, they're basically a wardens to continue to grow. So, every time you move up, you have to look at it as a position to grow, not a destination. It's more of a journey. So if I have a warden that doesn't have a security background, then hopefully they're next to people, majors, captains, whatever they are, that are strong in what they do. Because again, the warden's job really is to kind of take responsibility and to make the final decision. Okay, so remember that. So if you have a warden that's humble in their position, that's looking to grow and looking to learn, their support is what matters. Like for me, I'll give you an example, guys, because I know we're strictly looking at the custody side, but I oversee programming. I know nothing about programming. So if I was to sit there and say I made every decision behind programming, first off, that would be a complete lie. I'm constantly leaning on my department heads. But technically, that's what I'm supposed to do. I'm supposed to help facilitate their needs in the house. So what Elizabeth's saying and what Russ is saying is true. You have to balance that person's weaknesses. Now, that person also has to realize that they're weak in those areas. You know what I mean? I mean, all of a sudden, you may have people that are position driven or by destination, I've now made it. So you could have someone that says, I'm a warden, now I know everything. And, they're godlike. And it's like, no. When you're a warden, the great thing is it gives you the opportunity to learn more. You may have the responsibility of the final decision, but to be honest with you, if you're not sitting there listening to your people and you think because you have the position that you know it all, then you don't even have the right to be in that position. So again, for me, hey, what's up, Daryl? For me, it's all about the fact that I'm in this position now. I can learn. So technically, a warden could be seen as only as strong as the people that are around them. Like, listen, I'm going to be honest with you. I've been in corrections almost 20 years. I've been in administration for going to be about 7 years in administration. So I have a good handle on things. But my 7 years in administration won't even equal 2 days on the floor of a frontline professional in whatever area they represent. So if I don't have that in my background, I don't care how high my position is. I don't think I'm the best person to kind of judge them or, you know, or to not be influenced by them. I know, let's say for classification, I may oversee a classification department, but do you know that to be a classification officer, at least in our state, it could require a 3-year apprenticeship? That's a 3-year apprenticeship, 40 hours a week for 3 years, and then the knowledge you gain on the job every day. So all of a sudden you cross into administration and they tell you, hey, you got to oversee this area. I'm in this area. You think that day I'm a fool? You think I know, well, because I oversee this, you know, I know everything now about. No, you wind up having to go back to the people that run it and asking them for their advice and for their help and for their guidance. So the biggest concern that you're going to have here is if you have a leader. So to answer Daniel's question, I guess how I would answer it is this. How does that warden see themselves? You know, Russ kind of touched on it too. If that warden sees themselves as the end all and they're not open to learn, then yes, it is a problem because they're not aware that they have their weaknesses. But if the warden knows that they're not perfect and they're surrounded by a good team and they're willing to grow, don't always look at the signature behind the final decision. Try to understand the effort before the signature was made, if that makes any sense. I'm going to try to get that in Russ's book in 2056. But guys, sometimes we look at the decision and we're thinking, man, how could the administrator make that decision? Or how could the warden make that decision? But technically, there could have been discussions where they had all the experts sitting at the table, and that was the decision that was best made by everybody at that table. So again, you know, we look at decision, we see the person held responsible, but that doesn't mean that they were the person that was 100% behind that decision. So I think that's a great and fair question, but again, it really does depend on the team. It really does. And one last thing before we get to a close is that remember one thing, guys, and when it comes to corrections, prisons and jails, whatever department we're from, all has value that adds to the bigger picture. So safety and security is a big piece of that picture. So is programming. So is maintenance. So is every department. They all have value, right? So when you start to move up in corrections and you start to kind of get to the higher levels, it's usually because you've become an expert or excelling in a few areas, but not everything. You know, like for me, I believe, and I love that one team, one goal. For me, what do I think my strengths are on the administrative level? For some reason, I'm a problem solver. Now, what does that mean? All it means is I know where my resources are, guys. I have no problem going right to my department heads. I have no problem going to my directors if need be. And when people like, well, Gange, it's a gift, maybe, but knowing my resources, if you're intentional about it, anybody can know their resources. But I found out that I've excelled in, let's say, being a problem solver. So I kind of focus on my strengths because I'm always willing to learn, by the way. I'm not saying I'm not willing to learn, but I do have people that could balance out my weaknesses. So in the meantime, I focus on my strengths. And when there's a chance and, you know, the facility's slowing down a little bit, whenever that happens, you know, you're able to sit down and learn as much as you can. But I know where my resources are. So for anybody that moves into higher up, the best part of the journey is knowing exactly where your resources are. But never think that your department is the only department that could bring the greatest value to the higher position. I used to be that way. Yeah, you got to, and look at my older videos. I'm sure you're going to have older videos like, yeah, how could you have somebody that's not custody oriented? I don't get it. But as I've grown and as I've evolved, I have learned, and listen, Tier Talk is my personal growth too. I'm sure you're going to see some shifts in our perspective. I'm sure Russ on rehabilitation side right now, finding value in that. We've grown. But with that said, I find out this is what I've learned, guys, that, and I'm going to kind of quote Elizabeth here, one team, one goal. So to be honest with you, doesn't matter what background you have or what department you're coming from. As long as you're going into each position willing to grow and willing to learn and be open to what's coming your way, anybody could be cultivated into being a great leader, no matter what department you're from. It's only the people that are not willing to grow. So you could have someone that's totally safety and security minded, and they don't want to do anything in regards to, let's say, programming. So what's the program side going to think? Yo, this guy needs a background in programming or this woman needs a background in program because they're cutting off everything that we need. So the best way to do it is be fair and balanced. And even though you have this background in this department, you're not solely representing any department when you get to the higher level. That's why you have a strong team around you. Hey, Russ, what's your thoughts? Oh, happy birthday, Joe. It's Joe's birthday, Joe Murray. He comes from Duty Ron, guys. You guys ever check out Duty Ron? It's a good channel if you're into true crime. A lot of their people that come on Duty Ron also support us here. So I think that's pretty cool. And Duty Ron's also a very big supporter of what we do in the profession, being a fellow law enforcement officer himself. He was a detective, but he also believes in what we do as corrections as being law enforcement. So I think that's pretty cool. And so does Joe Murray, by the way, who's a lawyer. But Joe Murray is more than welcome on our page any day of the week. We love him. So we love you, Joe. Hey, Russ, anything you'd like to say in closing?
Yeah, so in talking to all of the people out there listening right now, most of you are probably involved in corrections. So take this under advisement. When people start hitting you up and asking you about this, I know that they are. Give them a real feel for what corrections is like. Discuss with them the good, the bad, and the indifferent, as I like to call it. And, just really tell them about the things that may make the difference for them as far as being positive, but don't neglect the negative either. If you're out there within the sound of my voice and you're considering corrections, by all means, consider it and come to us. We will give you honest, forthright answers and do our best to discuss this thing with you, because we really want people to want to be plugged into corrections, not just to see it as, just a job or just a stepping stone or just something transitory, but something that you can take and work with and make things better as you get through the process, as you go up in rank or whatever, because we need talented people, and we need talented people that are moving up to really make the difference, to make this thing better for all of us.
Russ, did you say happy birthday to Joe on his 31st birthday?
Oh, happy birthday to Joe Murray on his 31st birthday then. Way to go, Joe.
Yeah, and look at the love from the community, just wishing him a happy birthday. Guys, what a great way to, so again, I think this topic was just more to kind of push on the motivating side to try to see if we can get more people in for the right reasons. So again, I think me and Russ made it clear today. Would we recommend this career to someone that we know? Yes. But we would do it in a way that's balanced, but to let them know of their value. So when they come in, they know of their importance. And as I said, if you could find value in this profession, you could connect to that, it's hard for an inmate to maneuver you because your purpose is greater than anything that inmate could ever imagine. So as always, guys, love you guys. And I think Joe Murray's, he's got my last line. Love you guys. Please stay safe. On that note, Joe, on your birthday, I've allowed your line to end the show. Love you guys. Please stay safe, from Joe Murray. Take care, guys.